What is up, my friends? It is Dan here from Instillment, and I hope you all are doing really well. Now, one of the most common questions I get asked as a cinematographer and photographer is, what is the best lens? And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about none other than lenses. But before we hop into that, if you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing and liking the video. It really does help us out. Now, without any further ado, let's talk about lenses. So let's answer the age-old question. What is the best lens? And really the answer is simple. What are you shooting?
Psych! That's the wrong number!
Because that's just it. There is no one best lens. Now there's a bunch of really good lenses for specific jobs, but there isn't one that does everything. Think of lenses like tools in a toolbox. Now you wouldn't use a Phillips head screwdriver to drill a hole now, would you? So it's pretty much the same concept with lenses. Every lens is designed specifically for a certain job. So zoom lenses, as the name suggests, they zoom in and out.
Oh, really?
So they allow you to have a little bit more flexibility. Now on the other side of things, you have prime lenses. Prime lenses do not zoom, they are fixed at one distance. Now you might be asking, Dan, why would I buy a lens that doesn't zoom? That seems counterproductive. And to that I would answer, well, if you continue watching the video, maybe you'll find out. Nice. Zoom lenses are really convenient, and they're really good at doing a variety of different things. So for example, this is a 70 to 200 millimeters. So this allows me to get to pretty far distances, but as well as give me a nice mid-range zoom as well. Zoom lenses are so nice because they give you that convenience, and you don't have to worry about changing lenses in the middle of a shoot or missing a moment. So for example, people that do events or weddings or sports, zoom lenses are generally the best way to go. Now on the other side of things, prime lenses, because they are so good at one specific thing, they offer the best quality at that one distance. So because it only does one distance, it tends to offer much better sharpness, and the aperture of the lens is much wider. So aperture is essentially the iris of the lens, which will let in a lot more light, and it'll also give you a nice depth of field or blurry background effect. So prime lenses tend to require having a whole set of them because they only cover one distance. Versus zoom lenses, you only have to get a couple lenses and you'll have pretty much all the ranges you'll need to cover. Now let's talk about focal length, aka the distance or the zoom of the lens. Without getting too scientific about it, lenses are usually denoted by a millimeter number. So for example, a 50 millimeter or a 24 millimeters to 70 millimeter lens. The best way to think about it is the lower the number, the wider the angle, versus the larger the number, the more zoomed in it is, or the further away you can get. So for example, a 16 millimeter, which is really, really wide, would be something you would use for maybe landscapes or architecture or real estate, things like that. Then you're gonna have something like a mid-range, like a 50 millimeter. 50 millimeter is what we're shooting this video on right now, and it's considered to be kind of standard, what the eye sees. So 50 millimeter is a very, very common and loved lens because you can get the nice background blur like you're seeing, but it's also very fair. It's not too far wide or too far zoomed. It's a kind of perfect medium. And then you have things on the further range like a 200 millimeter. And this is what's called a telephoto lens. So this is gonna be what's great for things like sports, events, wildlife, and even portraits. I love telephoto lenses for portraits because they give you a really beautiful compression in the background, and they tend to make the subject look very dreamy and isolated, and it's a very nice effect when used correctly, of course. And then there are your more niche lenses or more specific lenses. So things like macro lenses, for example. Now, macro lenses, think of those like microscopic lenses. They let you get very, very close up and are good for extreme details. So things like flowers or doing products. Then you have extreme wide angle lenses like fisheye lenses, for example. Fisheye lenses give you extreme distortion and will show almost 180 degree angle. So Think of those like GoPros tend to have really wide angle, not quite fisheye, but it's very obvious when you see it. It's got that circle effect, like that vintage skateboard video effect. And then on the polar opposite side of things, you have super telephoto lenses. And super telephotos are going to be like 500 millimeters, 1,000 millimeters, and so on and so on. And those are the lenses they're shooting pretty much the National Geographic stuff with. When you're watching Planet Earth, they're shot on super telephoto lenses, so you can get amazingly far away shots without having to get close to them. Or even astrophotography, so when you're shooting the planets and the moon and stuff like that, you need a super telephoto lens. And that's just about everything there is to know about lenses. I mean, definitely not everything you need to know, but that's the basics, the fundamentals. So I hope I helped answer some of your questions about what lens to get. I know I didn't specifically say what lens to get because, well, really it depends what you're doing. So my recommendation is find out what it is you like to take photos of or do videos of, and then from there, once you figure it out that this is the distance you like to use, then you go and find the lens you want to get, whether it be a prime lens or a zoom lens. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them. Lenses are something I love to talk about because I know a ton about them. So until next time, this has been Dan from Instillment. I hope you all are doing well, and we will see you next time.